What is a Healthemia rose? What is a Ringo rose? And what do they have in common? Stick around, you're about to find out. Inside my wood shop today because it's February, it's cold outside, the wind is blowing, and at least it's warm in here. And on a day like this, we all love to dream of gardens to come and spring to come and love to think about new roses and plants for our garden. So that's what we're going to talk about today on the Everyday Rose Show. We're going to talk about new roses with Natalie Carmolli of Spring Meadow Nursery.
Natalie, it is so nice to meet you sort of in person, virtual in person, I guess. We certainly communicated over the years because when I ran the Biltmore International Rose Trials, you were always entering roses, and we're going to talk about one of those in just a little bit. But I think what would be interesting here is for you to give us a little information and tell people about Spring Meadow Nursery. What exactly is it? How do your products get to market? That kind of thing.
Well, Spring Meadow Nursery, my employer, is a wholesale nursery in West Michigan. We have about 40 acres of greenhouses under glass. And then under glass, it's not technically glass anymore. They're poly, but and then we also have a lot of field growing too, because we grow 100% exclusively shrubs. None of them are from grafts or seed. All of our shrubs that we grow are from wood cuttings. And the size of shrub that we grow here at Spring Meadow Nursery is something we call a liner. So a liner can come in a pot that's anywhere from 2 1/4 inches to 4 1/2 inches to a quart size liner that we call a quick turn. And so what I like to tell people, and especially consumers that like to buy shrubs at their local garden center, is anytime you see a proven winner's color choice shrub, it was born at Spring Meadow Nursery. So we grow these little small shrubs, a liner, and we sell those we're a wholesale nursery. We sell those to growers. So we call them finish growers. So what those finish growers do is they grow them to a saleable size, and then those growers are the one that sell them to your local garden center. So we're actually 2 steps away from the garden center. But the nice thing about working at Spring Meadow and working in promotions and marketing for Spring Meadow and Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs, which is the brand of shrubs that we grow, is that with every plant, there's just like 1 or 2 pennies built into the cost of buying those liners that goes directly into marketing. So what we're able to do and what I'm able to do, what my job is I am able to create marketing material to gain awareness of all these beautiful shrubs we grow at the consumer level, even though we don't sell directly to consumers. So I'm able to create really, really great print advertising. We have a team that creates digital advertising. We can create banners and signs that garden centers can put in their retail establishments to help people learn more about the shrubs we grow and be successful growing them.
I think that's what's going to be interesting for people to understand, because I know most consumers they just assume that, the garden center grows the plant and it shows up on the shelf. And there's quite a bit of steps. You start by propagating, and then it goes to a finish grower, or a canner is the other term that I've seen used occasionally as well. And then it finally gets to the garden center where the consumer can actually buy it. Right. And then you're also doing the brand awareness as well. And one thing I think that's interesting for people to understand is that since you propagate everything from some soft wood or wood tissue cuttings and things along those lines, that means all your plants, including your roses, are own root roses.
They are. Yes, they are. And so I think it makes them stronger. I think it makes them a little sturdier throughout the process, and it makes them grow faster. And our main focus is making sure that the end consumer is super successful.
Yeah, I've always pushed on root roses. I feel for a lot of different reasons. One, like you said, first of all, the hardiness, because if it does die back to the ground or you hit it with a lawnmower, it'll grow back again to the same rose you bought.
Right.
You're also not going to get suckers, which most people understand. Sometimes you'll have a white rose and then you see a little red rose, which is Dr. Ewing. That's a sucker. You're not going to get that. I feel from a garden use standpoint, it makes a fuller bush because to me, own root roses have a broader base, more canes at the base, and you get a much more attractive plant. And in the roses that you carry, which we're going to switch to in just a moment and talk a little bit about, that they're great garden use roses. And so the bushier and fuller they are, to me, the better the plant's going to be. And that's, to me, it comes from an own root rose.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these roots. It's kind of timely that you bring that up, actually, because right now I'm in the process of packing up our roses that we've entered for rose trials this year. And those are all bare root roses. So you can actually see that giant root system that comes on those bare root roses. Even though the top of the plant is cut off about this tall, you can see that beautiful, well-established root system. And that is so important. And like you said, it's the same plant from root to tip.
That's right. And I think that's something that people don't understand. People always associate own root roses with something that comes in a pot. And bare root rose doesn't necessarily always mean budded. You can do a bare root, own root is what the industry term is, where the liners that you produce are put in a field, grown like a regular grafted bare root, but they're own root bare root. And that actually gets an own root rose to the end consumer. That's actually a fairly mature plant by the time they get a hold of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it grows faster for the grower and for the retailer.
Now we're going to talk about roses. But I want to do something a little bit in advance because you work with a breeder who is not only a friend of mine. I've known Chris Warner for over 20 years, but to my mind is one of the more talented breeders out there. What I've always liked about Chris is he pushes the envelope. And that's what I think makes his roses so special. He's also very consistent in some of the characteristics. So before we even dive into the roses, what to you makes a Chris Warner rose a Chris Warner rose?
Well, I mean, to use a gross generalization to begin with, they're just high performance roses. And, that's something that we're looking for as growers, and that the garden and that the end consumer is also, that a gardener is looking for, is a rose that's going to perform very, very well. And to get more specific, the things that Chris Warner does when he breeds roses is and something that we want in our line of shrub roses is they're going to be extra cold hardy. So people that live in colder zones can have more luck growing shrub roses. They're going to be very disease resistant and by disease resistant, I mean mostly the foliage, right? So a lot of people, when they grow roses, they get disappointed partway through the season when their foliage starts to get black spot and mildew and it gets tattered and starts falling off. And these are, in a lot of the roses that he breeds are very resistant to that. And we've certainly tested a lot of them to make sure we take, his roses and all the roses that we grow and we really, really treat them badly before we introduce them. We water them overhead, we cram them together in a hot greenhouse, and his roses just perform in a stellar way. And that's proved out by, the awards his roses win as well. Yeah. And then finally he grows roses that are a nice compact size. So growing shrubs that are compact size is something we always work toward. It's something we want to make sure we have a nice selection of. So when people want to grow a rose in a container, or they want to fit a rose into an already established garden, or they don't have a lot of space. A lot of people have larger homes and smaller spaces to garden. We want to make sure that roses are part of their garden plan.
I totally agree. And I think that's, like you said, the nice thing about Chris's roses, that they are smaller, the disease resistance. And I've seen that for over 20 years of growing his roses and seeing his material and trials and all kinds of stuff. He's incredibly consistent that way. But they're fun roses. They're different roses. You might even call them Oso Easy to Grow, which leads me into
Oso
the
Easy
Oso Easy
roses.
series. Oh, yeah. I know. I'm good at segues. Mr. Segway, that's me. So that leads me to the Oso Easy series, which is, some people might say, oh, Oso Easy, it's a brand name. Well, of course it's a brand name. We all understand that. But the characteristics of these roses do fit the brand name in this particular case. So, as I think you just actually defined a lot of them. They're compact shrubs. They're very floriferous. The flower power is just amazing. They're more what we call continually flowering as opposed to remontant or repeating flowering. They're almost never without flower. They tend to clean themselves, which means the old flowers drop off. And they're just great landscape shrubs and also great for containers. Keep in mind these roses for containers. So why don't we meet the three that you want us to talk about?
All right, we're going to talk about 3 of Chris's roses that are in our Oh So Easy series. And like you said, we call them Oh So Easy because they're oh so easy to grow, they're oh so easy to take care of, and they're oh so easy to find success with. So the 3 roses that I chose from this series, I'm going to start with Oh So Easy Italian Ice. This is a fairly new rose in our Oh So Easy series, and it's also the Proven Winners Color Choice Rose of the Year for 2021. So I think people are going to see a little more advertising. They're going to see more availability in their local garden center. And this is a beautiful shrub rose that's similar in coloration to the Peace hybrid rose.
Yeah,
so
I can see that. Yeah, it's got those nice 2 tones. It's got that lemony yellow with the pink blush edges.
Yeah, and like a lot of our shrub roses, what I really love about them is the way the blooms transition, the color transitions. As you know, when that Oh So Easy rosebud is tight, it's going to be kind of a bright yellow color, and then it's going to open to that beautiful peace coloration with the white, the light yellow inside and the pink along the edges of each petal. And then as it transitions, it turns a lighter yellow, almost white. And then, like you said, self-cleaning, those roses just fall right off so that more can take their place. This is a nice compact rose, 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall, and nice and cold hardy down to USDA zone 4 up to 9. So it's a great size rose, very, very hardy, a beautiful color. I have one in my own garden. It flowers from top to bottom. Just a gorgeous rose.
Yeah, I can see this rose. The color has the yellow, but the yellow isn't garish.
Right.
Which you sometimes see in yellow roses. So this is more of a pastel type, lemony type yellow, which is a nice combination. I mean, you could pop it with a blue salvia, a blue buddleia, caryopteris, because I know you guys carry a buddleia called Pugster Blue, which I'm very fond of.
Yeah.
And those colors really blend nicely with this kind of rose, but it's also soft enough it can go with other pinks and other kinds of roses like that. Absolutely, definitely a front of the border kind of plant. If you're doing a traditional English style border. And I would always advise with roses like this, you get more impact if you don't plant just one. Plant them in like groups of 3 or groups of 5 and let them grow into each other. Don't plant them so tight that they interlace, but let them touch each other. Because that way it looks like one giant rose that you basically planted there. And I always tell people, you see a lot of roses where they're spaced far apart. And my question is, well, do you have a rose garden or a mulch garden? You got to kind of make up your mind which one you're doing here, So this is definitely see this being planted in mass in groups like that. So it's a lovely, lovely rose. Yeah.
Yeah. When people think about like hedges, they always think, oh, it's got to be, a boxwood or a hydrangea or something like that. Like you could create, think of those, swaths of roses as a small hedge or like you said, a border. They are more impactful planted together.
Yeah, this would be great to line. This and all of them actually would be really good to line like a walkway with or something like that. You'd plant them in 2 rows and stagger the rows like that and let them grow into each other, and you get this nice mass hedge going on. I mean, it's a beautiful thing like that.
Definitely.
So, well, introduce us to Oh So Easy Paprika. I believe that's the next one we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Oh So Easy Paprika is really unique because it's a color unlike any other colors that we have in the series. And that is something Chris Warner's great at too, is color in these roses. The bloom colors are always so unique. They're always so eye-catching. Paprika is this beautiful orange, like light orange color rose. And I love orange in a garden. It's got little tiny hints of yellow at the tips of the petals, but mostly it's an orange rose with a nice orange center. Once again, a great plant to mix with something blue. I think it would look gorgeous next to, a caryopteris or something like that. And it's also one of our most cold hardy roses. So Oh So Easy Paprika is hardy all the way down to zone 3. So this is going to stand up really well to people that live in colder weather climates. And it's a nice small rose, 1 to 2 feet. So it would be a nice combo with other roses that are maybe a little bit taller. A gorgeous rose, Oh So Easy Paprika.
Yeah, I could see it definitely. And orange is actually a very nice color in a garden. A lot of people are afraid of it. But like you said, if you pair it with blues or whites, you can even go in the opposite direction, hot, and go red in orange. I mean, those are combinations that work. But people are always a little bit terrified. But I always encourage people to do some hot colors in the garden, because that's what makes the contrast with the other colors is what makes the garden start to pop and stand out at that point. Because gardens are about color, but they're also about, contrasts, and that's otherwise it kind of becomes the same. But a great little rose. And then another great little rose in this series, the Oso Easy Urban Legend.
Yeah, Urban Legend is a fantastic rose. It just in 2018 won 2 awards at the Biltmore. So we're really, really proud of that rose. I'm sure Chris is too. It won Best Shrub Rose, and then also the Lord Burleigh Award for Best Disease Resistance, which I love the name of that award.
Biltmore, because for people who don't know, I run the Biltmore trials. I found them and I run them. And so all the awards are named after people who were important in Biltmore. The Chauncey Beale Award, who was the first gardener, and of course, George Vanderbilt. And I remember Oso Easy Urban Legend because Biltmore is a blind trial. So the judges have no clue what they're judging. They have a class and that's it. But of course, I knew what it was. And it was pretty obvious this rose was going to win some awards from pretty much from the get-go. I mean, it was just an outstanding rose the entire time.
It continuously flowers. It's got that kind of a deep red, but not a true red, almost an orangey deep red color bloom, a bright yellow center. And one thing that we like to say about Oso Easy Urban Legend, it's pretty thorny. It's got a lot of prickles, some pretty sharp prickles on it. And we tell people, maybe you want to put it in a border where you want to discourage people walking through someplace, You
can almost call it Oso Easy. I don't like my neighbor rose.
Yeah, use it. We have actually some zoos that are going to be putting it in this summer to put around the animal features. It's a gorgeous landscaping plant, but it keeps people from wanting to cross those barriers and step into there. They're like, oh, there's some, they call them thorns, but we know they're called prickles. Really, they're actually prickles, but they grab your pant legs and they say, stay out of here.
So that's great. So that's three great roses from the Oso Easy line. There's more roses in the Oso Easy line, and I would advise people to go to your website, which is
or you could go to provenwinners-shrubs.com.
Okay.
And then
Either way, you can see the whole series.
Just click Oso Easy into search, and you'll get them all.
Yeah, there's a nice series of them, and a broad color range as well. And again, all having those characteristics that we were talking about in the beginning. Easy to grow, compact in size, flowers like crazy, disease resistant, all those things that make them wonderful, wonderful roses. Now we're going to talk about a group of roses that I am so excited about. This is the Ringo series of roses, and they're called Ringo because not necessarily for Ringo Starr, but they're called Ringo because they have a ring around the center of the rose. Yeah, and that ring is fascinating. We're going to go a little Rose Wally here is what we're going to do. A little rose. We're going to geek out for a minute. So there's a rose called Rosa Hulthemia. It's a species rose. It's a desert rose, warm climates, and that has the eye. Modern breeders wanted to get that eye into modern roses that repeated. So Jack Harkness and Alex Coker began that work, slowly doing what they call Hulthemia persica hybrids. Tigris, Euphrates were 2 of them that came out of that again, but they were only spring flowering. Tigris is the one that had good fertility, so that's the one they began to work with. And then also Ralph Moore in the United States, the late, great Ralph Moore, also began to work with Tigris to try to get that eye going. Enter Jim Sproul, who also did eye roses. He's the one who's been developing in the United States. He obtained Tigris through Kim Rupert from Ralph Moore, and he also obtained a eye rose from Chris Warner, who was also then beginning to work with the eye roses. Peter Ilsink of Interplant in the Netherlands has also done some really, really nice eye work as well. Which brings us back to Chris Warner, because Chris's roses are so great because, again, you talked about cold hardiness with the Oso Easy series. These have the same cold hardiness, which some of the eye roses don't have. So Chris has succeeded with that. So now that I've geeked us out for a little bit, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to the Ringo roses?
Yes, so we have 2 roses in this series so far. It's a new series, so we have 2. We introduced the first in the Ringo Rose series, which is simply Ringo Rose. And then our newest one, Ringo All-Star, are hardy in zones 4 to 8. So like you said, they're extra hardy. They're nice and, cold hardy, like a lot of Chris's roses. Ringo Rose is, once again, we talked about how the rose colors can transition a little bit. Ringo Rose is so interesting. because it transitions in such a significant way. So these blooms will start out yellow as a bud. When they open, there'll be a bright yellow bloom with that deep red eye that we love about those Healthemia roses. A nice, stable, dark red eye. Then as the flower ages, the outside of the blooms will turn white and the eye will turn a pink color. And then because this plant is a rebloomer, blooms over and over and over again, the effect you get on this rose is that there's 3 colors of roses blooming at once. This deep yellow rose, then a lighter yellow rose as it starts to transition into a little older bloom, and then finally that white bloom. So you get this nice full rose shrub with all these colors of roses going at once. And it's just a beautiful, brightly colored shrub that you could actually, because of all the colors on it, match with a lot of things in the garden.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at a photograph of it, and a nice size bloom. It looks like a good 3-inch size bloom, which is really pretty.
It is.
But yeah, there's a lot of colors. You can go cool color, you can go warm color with this. I think it's going to go with a lot of different things. It's a very, very pleasing color. Again, you know, it's yellow, but it's not that garish, over the top neon kind of yellow. It's got some really nice characteristics and colors to it. And typical of Chris, on a compact bush that's just grows like crazy and flowers like crazy. And which brings us to your new one, Ringo All-Star. I love this.
So Ringo All-Star is the next in the series. Same kind of, it's a little bit different in size, where Ringo's 3 to 4 feet. This one's 2 to 3 feet, so a little more petite than Ringo Rose. Same big flower though, that nice, great big flower bud. And this color is an apricot colored rose with a dark center, with that dark, almost maroon red ring in the center. So this is an apricot rose that's going to open and turn a really beautiful peach color and then a kind of a light pink color. This one doesn't transition color-wise quite as distinctly as the Ringo rose with the bright yellow and then the light yellow and the white. It's more of a kind of an apricot into a lavender color, but the color is so unique and so beautiful and soft. Ringo All-Star is going to be available in garden centers this year. So what I always like to say to people, when especially a rose is new, like Ringo All-Star, and that's that peachy apricot colored rose by Chris that we love, is if you can't find it at your local garden center, ask for it. Because the garden centers, especially when a plant's new, you know, they don't want to bring in plants that nobody wants or nobody's heard of, right? It's easier to bring in a plant that people want. And how do they know if somebody wants it? Well, you request it. So they're a lot of times able to get those plants in for you. If you can't find it at your local garden center, of course you can look online. But we always like to drive people to their local garden center because they're also going to be able to give them the advice they need to be more successful putting the plants in the ground, how to take care of them as the year goes on, what's going to work in your climate, what's going to work with the amount of, you know, all the cultural conditions of your yard.
Yeah, I agree. I think local garden centers are always going to be your best source for local information. They tend to be gardeners. They know your climate. They know your watering. They know your soil more than likely. And soil is such an important part of growing anything. So local garden centers are absolutely always a good way to go to get good advice. And I love the color of this rose. Like you said, it's a soft color, but it's rich in color. It's got a lot of depth to it, a lot of tone to it, which I think is really nice. Again, great rose for just almost any use in a landscape, from container to border to hedges, mass planting. You can do so much, such a versatile plant. So, well, Natalie, this has been great. It's been fun to talk about roses, particularly on a February day when I'm sure it's in Michigan, it's probably not particularly pleasant.
7 degrees today.
7 degrees, yeah. South Carolina. I'm finally seeing some sun out my window here for the first time in about a week. So the Oso Easy series, we're looking forward to more of the Ringo series. Obviously, you know, you continue to work with Chris Warner, and Chris continues to breed roses, and we're looking forward to more from Chris. I'm glad we had a chance to, you know, sing his praises and introduce him to the gardening public. Most people don't know who he is, and you should. So The last thing I wanted to, we talked a little bit, but so if folks want to get these roses, they're under Proven Winners brand. Am I correct in that assumption?
Proven Winners Color Choice. Yep, that's how you can. We're all the Proven Winners brand, but color. When you see Color Choice, you're dealing with a shrub, which is what we grow. And you can find them, like we said, at your local garden center. If you don't have a local garden center that carries them, a lot of times you can find them at your local Home Depot or other big box stores that have a garden center, Lowe's. Look for that distinctive white pot. That's how you're going to know you're getting a Proven Winners Color Choice shrub. Or you can go to provenwinners-shrubs.com if you want to learn some more about shrubs and you want to look for something online. Gardening right now is experiencing a huge boom in popularity. People have realized when they, since a lot of their other social activities aren't available to them, that turning to your own outdoor oasis has become more and more valuable. So people have decided, hey, I'm going to make my outdoor spaces a beautiful place for me to hang out, to invite my family, to invite my friends, because we can do that safely. So my advice would be start early. Do your planning early. Get your plants as early as you can, because we're expecting another big garden season. And
yeah, I saw that last year too, and in the Facebook group that I lead and all the things. I mean, people were gardening like crazy. I mean, it was hard to get plants, and nurseries were selling out incredibly quickly, both mail order and local nurseries, because their nurseries are outdoors. It's kind of a relatively safer space to get into and spend some time in. But I would with you, plan early, spend time on the websites. You can kind of look at the plants you want to do, maybe do some designing and things along those lines. But definitely get out there and get your plants early. And as I always say, make sure you prepare the soil really well, particularly in a new bed, because that's the key to unlocking any successful gardening is soil. So Natalie, it's been great talking to you, great talking about the roses. And we look forward to seeing more and more great roses from Proven Winners and Spring Meadows in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be invited, and I am so happy to be on this virtual platform with you.
We'll do it again.